Hello! Back again to read more of our Wild Robot Escapes. We are starting off today with chapter 71, The Observations. And today, I'm going to read to you guys, hopefully as long as I can. Sloane's taking a nap, so if I pause it, it's because she's woken up and started screaming, and I'll keep reading. I'll upload them probably in two sets if that happens. So just want to forewarn you. All right, let's start. Chapter 71, The Observations. Sunlight sparkled off the skyline. New buildings were constructed. Old buildings were taken down. Cargo ships docked in the harbor. Delivery trucks unloaded crates. Bright signs flickered with advertisements. Robots worked behind the scenes. Children played in parks. Adults ate and drank at outdoor cafes. The city pulsed with energy. A wild robot observed it all. You guys are really good at observing things because I know that you've practiced it with your science experiments. I know you've practiced it with your botany lessons. So I want you, as an extra challenge, to write down any observations that you notice about your work. So all of you have a Montessori material that you took home to practice in math, and you'll be having your packets to practice. And I want to see if you guys observe anything that's different, maybe about how you work with your parents near, or how you work with your siblings near, or anything that you find different, or even observations that you find the same. And we can share them when we get back together. Okay, chapter 72, The Police. A pair of police robots stood on the sidewalk while foot traffic glided past them. Their heads swiveled back and forth as they scanned the crowd with their glowing eyes. The police looked menacing, but they sounded friendly. Whenever a human walked by, they'd say, "Have a nice day," in a perky voice. Excuse me. There were a lot of humans walking by, so the police kept repeating their words. "Have a nice day! Have a nice day! Have a nice day!" Our robot was not having a nice day. She was alone in the city. She was worried about her son, and she wanted nothing to do with the police. But she couldn't avoid them. If she turned suddenly, she might draw their attention. So she kept her eyes forward and calmly marched along with the other robots on the street. Roz may have looked calm on the outside, but on the inside her thoughts were scrambled. Were the police dangerous? Did they work with the Ricos? Was she about to be caught? It seemed as if the police were watching Roz. Their eyes lingered on her for a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then they continued scanning the crowd. Our robot felt something like relief. When she made it past without incident, she went on her way, just another robot on the street, and those perky voices gradually faded behind her. "Have a nice day! Have a nice day! Have a nice day!" The Pigeons is chapter 73. That is a clue for any of you who read the Wild Robot 1 in the fall with us. The pigeon was mentioned in the first book. In the very heart of the city was a great swath of greenery, the old park. It had rolling lawns and flower gardens and dense wooded areas. It had lakes and ponds and fountains. It had playgrounds and benches and miles of cobblestone pathways. It also had pigeons, thousands and thousands of pigeons. The city pigeons witnessed things you wouldn't believe. Nothing shocked them. They certainly weren't shocked by robots, so when Roz marched into the middle of the park, the pigeons there weren't troubled in the least. She approached a flock that was about 100 birds strong, all cooing and strutting across the cobblestones as if they owned the place. But as Roz stomped closer and closer, the pigeons scuttled out of the way to let her pass by. However, Roz didn't pass by. She stopped and glanced around, and when she saw that she was alone with the pigeons, she started speaking to them in the language of the animals. "Hello, pigeons, my name is Roz." The pigeons cocked their heads, which meant, is this robot actually speaking to us? "Yes, I am actually speaking to you," continued Roz. "I am searching for my son. He is a goose named Brightbill. Have you seen him?" For the first time in a long time, the pigeons were shocked. Several of them fluttered away from the talking robot, but most were too curious to leave. One pigeon was so curious that she strutted out from the flock and right up to the robot. "Let me get this straight," said the curious pigeon. "Your name's Roz, and you've got a son named Brightbill who's a goose?" "That is correct." "I can't believe it." The pigeon flapped her wings and turned to the others. "You guys, this is Roz from Graybeak Stories. Remember? The flock began cooing excitedly. "You have heard of Graybeak?" said Roz. "Everyone's heard of Graybeak," said the pigeon. "A while back, she started telling stories about a goose whose mother was some kind of wild robot. We all thought she was joking, but I guess not." Here's a picture of a pigeon. "She was not joking," said Roz, "but I have lost my son, and I don't know how to find him. Perhaps Graybeak could help. Do you know where she is?" "I hate to tell you this, Roz, but Graybeak is dead." The birds all lowered their heads. "You know, life ain't easy for us pigeons. We only live a few years out here if we're lucky, but we're especially sad when we lost Graybeak. She was one of the best." The others cooed in agreement. "Coo, coo." "I'm sorry for your loss," said Roz. "I wish I had gotten to meet Graybeak. My son was very fond of her." The pigeon gazed up at the robot with a steely look in her eye. "Any friend of Graybeak is a friend of ours. If Brightbill's lost, we're going to find him." She turned to the others. "You heard me, flock. Hit the skies and tell every pigeon you see to start searching for a goose named Brightbill." At those words, the flock erupted into flight. Only the robot and the curious pigeon remained. "By the way, they call me Strutter," said the pigeon, fluffing out her chest feathers. "It is very nice to meet you, Strutter," said the robot. "Thank you for searching for Brightbill. What can I do to help?" "You can help by staying put. I want you in this park when we return with your son. Don't hide or wander off or make us go searching for you, too." "Oh, and another thing," Stutter added, "stay away from the park ranger robot. He spends most of his time taking care of the grounds, but he's always on the lookout for troublemakers." The pigeon gave a quick salute to the robot. Then she joined the search for Brightbill. Chapter 74, The Sky. Hours passed and the sun set in the west. More hours passed and the eastern sky began to glow. Roz spent that whole night in the park, waiting for Strutter to return with Brightbill. But there was no sign of them. In fact, there weren't any birds in the park at all. Roz couldn't let those thoughts distract her. She needed to stay alert. The park ranger robot had seen her once or twice already, and now She heard footsteps wherever she went. Was the park ranger following her? Had he noticed our robot's unit number? Would he report her to the Ricos? Roz took a pathway into the woods, trying to escape the ranger's view. And that's when she heard familiar voices calling from the sky. "Where are you, Ma?" said Bright Bill. "Come on out, Roz," said Strutter. Roz turned toward the voices, but saw only leaves and branches. Bright Bill and Strutter were flying somewhere above the woods. She wanted to call back to them, but the park ranger was still trailing her. Instead, she followed the sounds of their voices as they glided over the treetops. But then there came a new sound, a buzzing sound. It grew louder and closer. Air started blasting down from the sky, and when Roz looked up, she saw a white triangular airship floating above her. This will be our last chapter for today. Chapter 75, The Ricos. 3 robots zipped down from the airship on cables. Here is a picture of the Ricos. The ground shook as their heavy feet slammed against the cobblestones. Then they stood side by side, forming a wall with their eyes locked on Roz. They were Rico, can you guess their numbers if you were in the fall? Rico 4, Rico 5, and Rico 6. "Hello, Roz, I'm Unit 7134. We are the Ricos. Please come with us." The robotic voice belonged to Rico 4. He and his partners waited for their target to come forward. But Roz didn't move. She knew how dangerous the Ricos could be. And so did her son. From somewhere in the sky, Bright Bill's frightened voice cried out, "Run! Mama! Run!" So Roz ran. She dashed up the pathway and leaped into the woods without crunching a weed, without rustling a leaf. The robot vanished into thick foliage. The Ricos weren't concerned. They had other ways of tracking her, or so they thought. Their blocky heads swiveled from side to side, scanning the woods for Roz's electronic signal. They scanned and scanned and scanned, but they found no trace of their target. So it looks like we will most likely be finishing our Wild Robot book in the next, maybe by the end of the week. So if you have an idea of what book you would like to read next, please feel free to email me or put it on our Facebook group and we can decide or take votes. I also should see what I have available here because our libraries are closed. So maybe I need to go back to our school and see what we have there as well. I hope you guys enjoyed that chapter. I want to hear your predictions. I want to hear what you think is going to happen. And if your mom and dad are watching too, maybe you can tell them what happened the first time Roz came into contact with Ricos 1, 2, and 3 on the island with Bright Bill. All right, I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. See you soon. Bye.